I'm going to tell you a story today. One day, a lady, let's call her Jane, when she was carjacked by 4 armed men, they proceeded to gang rape her for several hours and eventually abandoned her in a forested area. Luckily, she managed to find her way to a police station. When she arrived at the police station, she reported the incident, and the officer informed her that she needed to go to a hospital for medical intervention. Given that it was late, she was tired, traumatized, she opted to go home instead. At home, she removed her clothes, placed them in a plastic bag, and discarded them. She also proceeded to take a shower and tried to get some sleep in preparation for the next day. The following day, she goes to a nearby hospital, finds a long queue, waits in line patiently, and finally reaches the triage nurse. She repeats her ordeal to the triage nurse, who then refers her to a clinician. When she gets to the clinician, she tells the clinician her story, and much to her dismay, he informs her that he doesn't have the relevant skills, equipment, or knowledge to manage her case. But he sends her to a recommended hospital that's well known in the city for managing cases of sexual and gender-based violence. Frustrated and upset, she goes back home, takes another shower, and tries to get some rest. The next day, she musters enough courage to get herself out of the house and try one more time. She goes to the hospital that was recommended for her, is seen by a nurse, referred to a clinician, who then examines her and documents his findings on a post-rape care form, otherwise known as a PRC form. He informs her, however, that he cannot collect any specimens from her body because she had already showered. He then sends her back to the police station where she reported the incident because apparently she needed another form filled. So she goes back to the police station and she's given a form, a Kenya Police Medical Report form, otherwise known as a P3 form, without which proceedings in court become very difficult, if not impossible. Now, by this time, 2 days have lapsed. Not one person has told her that she needs to have evidence collected. Not one person has directed her to go back home, get the clothes that she put in a plastic bag because they are needed, they have evidence on her. When a victim undergoes rape, they become a crime scene and they must be treated as such. My name is Dr. Kizzie Shako, and I'm here to bring an end to the trauma, confusion, and despair that victims of sexual violence face on a daily basis. Let me tell you a bit about myself. I'm a forensic clinician, and I work with the National Police Service. And every day I see about 40 to 60 victims of violence, confused, desperate victims of violence. Of these, an average of 6 are defilement cases. Defilement being the rape of a child. A child is a minor under the age of 18. And a majority of these are aged between 2 and 12 years of age. Yeah. I attend court as an expert witness, giving testimony on these cases. And it's in court that I observed and noted the implications of misconceptions, misinformation, myths, and poor handling of evidence. I start my day in the morning, in addition to going to court, in a tiny little poorly resourced office, and work my way through 50 patients over an 8-hour stretch. I take their histories, I take a detailed history, document what they're saying, I examine injuries and document my findings on the P3 form, and I also give counseling, because sadly, most of these patients don't even know what it is they're doing. They don't know what all these forms are for, they don't know why they've been asked to get these forms filled or what purpose they serve. So by the end of each day, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm exhausted, and I'm drained. But for me, it's just a Tuesday, or a Wednesday, or a Friday. For the victims, it's the worst day of their lives. Now, I work with victims, suspects, and dead bodies. But I wasn't always like this. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a flight attendant. Yeah, tall, elegant, beautiful, always smiling, stunning. But I was also asthmatic from an early age. From age 2, I was missing out on school a lot. I spent a lot of time out of school, and my grades suffered a little bit. But the biggest impact was from the asthma and the steroid medication that I had to take to keep the asthma at bay. Now, the steroids caused me to be very, very big. You can imagine being a child 3 times the size of your peers in primary school. So I was teased a lot. And when I voiced my desire to be a flight attendant, my friends mocked me and told me that I was too fat and too ugly to become a flight attendant. Well, of course, my self-esteem took a hit, but I thought, okay, I'll choose another busy woman in uniform. So now, as a police surgeon, I get to help people every day, not with in-flight meals, movies, tea, coffee, but to navigate the worst day of their lives. And I can tell you it hasn't been easy. Dealing with children who've been physically assaulted, sexually abused, sodomized, neglected by the very people who are supposed to love and care for them, their caregivers, their parents. Dealing with women who are battered and raped by their husbands or intimate partners. It's not easy at all. And I was troubled. Very many times I was troubled, and I was finding it difficult to sleep, especially because I noted that ignorance was playing a very big role in a lot of the violence cases I see. And this is what drove me to start my blog, to educate the community, to educate stakeholders, key players, on the crucial details and dynamics behind sexual violence and child abuse. In addition, the other purpose of the blog was to encourage those who have been hurt to reach out for help and not to suffer in silence. So my call to action is, it's about time that we started and we have a one-stop multi-agency center that can manage and care for victims of sexual and gender-based violence. Imagine for a minute if Jane, after her ordeal, dialed a helpline, was collected by an ambulance, was received by a sexual assault nursing examiner, was then examined by a forensic expert, who would examine her properly, document the findings properly, take photos the way they're supposed to be taken, collect evidence using a rape kit, hand it over to a police officer who's still under the same roof, who would then ensure that chain of custody is maintained, send the evidence to the lab technician in the same roof. Then Jane receives her psychosocial support and legal advice, and if need be, a safe place to sleep for a night or two. A one-stop center would bring an end to the repetition, Jane having to repeat herself and relive the ordeal over and over again. It would bring an end to time wasting. It would bring an end to poor handling of evidence that is crucial if convictions are to be secured. I've been doing this for 4.5 years now, and the methodology has to change. This cannot continue any longer. My vision is to live in a violence-free Kenya, a violence-free Africa. Every woman, every man, and every child should live a violence-free life. 2 children, 10 children, 100 children, they all deserve to live a violence-free life. Mother Teresa once said, "Don't worry about the numbers. Start with the person right next to you, and you, and you." My name is Dr. Kizzie Shako. I'm a senior forensic medical officer working with the National Police Service as a police surgeon. My blog is Vunja Kimya, Breaking the Silence. And I intend to start a one-stop center that will be a model of excellence to be replicated in all 47 counties in Kenya and beyond. Thank you.